Hey Peter. Hey Stuart. Matt, g'day. Mark Osborne, hello. Bill, g'day. A mixed lot as normal. Anyway, I'm here in the shop. I'm done pretty much. I've not been well this week still, but I'm here and trying to pump out some actual production or content or like progress. Not particularly successfully, but we are. Anyway, hope everyone's having a nice and amazing week so far. David, g'day. Thanks for your comments on the new video. This place is a bit of a shambles, but we'll go through slowly and work out what's happening and start at one end and continue. Hey Nigel, good video from Nigel on woodwork again. Starting to take shape. Interesting that you've gone back to the old technology as far as woodworking tools. Anyway, what did we miss off last time when we were here? Have we got sound? Has everyone got sound? Is that okay? Does it sound good? We missed the live stream because it wasn't real well and I was in hospital, to be honest, if we're going to go there, but only like emergency department. Anyway, got out of there all right before dark. No, not really. It was well after dark before I got home. That was last week's Wednesday. But before that, we had swap meet stuff that we were looking at. Where did we even start? The thing we missed out on the swap meet is that sign. There we go, we'll zoom in and have a look at the grader ahead sign. Now, anyone who knows anything about me knows that this is probably a slippery slope. We've got a grader sign. It's probably a step off to a grader, and that gets a bit out of hand. So, TMB, g'day. So anyway, toe behind grader for the steamroller would be very cool to own, but we have a grader ahead sign at this point. So that picked that up at the swap meet. It's a 1/4 inch plate, I think, a 3/16 1/4 inch plate. It's pretty heavy. It's probably 5mm, 3/16 plate. Very useful thing to have. Right, it looks like it's written with a thumbnail dipped in tar, but there you go. Kind of cool. So that's the start. What do we look at next? Oh, I don't know. This, I guess. We've got a broken wheel on this. This didn't last the distance because it's too heavy. Going to find some decent caster for this. It's a good idea. Didn't work. This wheel here's had an accident. Not up to the carrying capacity, especially when you put something heavy on top of that and move it around the shop. So find some big wheels of that at some point. Now, you may notice tools around the back of the roller. You make it sound like a terrible malady, Bill. No injector on here, if we have a look. phone system's not ideal, to be honest. Anyway, have a look down in there. There's a pipe fitting hanging down with nothing on it, and there's a hole in the tender with nothing on it. So let's have a look at those bits. Stuart, yeah, that's what happened. Anyway, pretty much. So we've pulled those bits off. There's still that very ugly tap here. Zoom in again and have a look at the very ugly tap. That needs something doing to it, or fixing, and the drain tap's not really ideal. I'm going to measure the hole centres at some point and ask Mark if it's the same one. I think it could be, to be honest, the same as his, and then I'll just borrow his, and I should have borrowed it on the weekend. I meant to, but I didn't bring it with me. So we'll draw up a proper brass plug for that, brass tap. Should be very nice. But let's have a look over here. That groaning noise is my joints. Here's the bits. We'll zoom out again because all you can see is the spots on the bench. This is the tap that goes in the hole, right? And this is the injector. And this is the surplus bit that probably we need to put back on. So we've got a Pepsi BB33, I think it's a high pressure injector, this one. 220 pound or something that goes to. But it's broken off here. There you go. Speaking of melodies, this is snapped off. It was this was stuck in here. And as a consequence, I filed a square hole in it and found a bit of 5/8 key steel stuck in there with a spanner and unscrewed it. Hey Mark. So unscrewed that. This has got to go back on here, but we've got to make a tool to take this cone out of the injector without damaging it. So that's a project for some time, probably this weekend, something like that. I'd like to believe that, I don't know. Take that cone out, we're going to make a bronze bush to go in here. Put this back on here over the top of it, bore it out. Silver solder it all back up, put it back on. But before we can put it back on, there's jobs. Because when you take something off a steamroller that someone else has restored, you always I think we're still here. It's a pain in the neck. Anyway, this is missing the square washer off the bottom, and the bolt's been snapped off, so someone's drilled and tapped it and put a screw in there, which sort of works. But why not fix it properly? So I guess I file this off and drill and tap it properly and put a 1/2-inch screw in there, a stud in there, and then put a nut on it and make a proper washer with a square hole to fit that, and clamp it all up and put a nut on it so that it works and so that it's original. So that's a job. As a consequence, pulled that out of the tank. This came out too. It's awesome. It has got, I believe, the original filter with a very fine piece of gauze on it. It's the same filter as the one Mark has on his. Looks to be identical. His is brass. I thought this was just a die casting, but I think it could be brass as well. So needs new mesh on it. Don't know whether you make a sleeve to go over the outside and slip it over it, or whether you put something around the inside or what. I don't know yet. And it needs a new pipe, because when you get looking, This one be PVC. Not that impressed about that. So we're going to have to fix that and that and that. And then this ugly pipe, right? This one comes down here and goes right down the bottom there and comes out there, and the injector welds on it, screws on it. Now it threads in a tap up there. We can see that there, threads in there. Shouldn't thread in there. That needs a flange on it to match the flange on the back of the tap. If we had a torch, I'd get up in there. I don't know if I've got a torch, have I? Is the torch down here on the ground? No torch on the ground. See if I can find a torch quick. We'll get up and have a look. No torch on the roller. There's the torch. I found the torch. We'll go and get the light. Go walk around all the steamrollers to get there. There's no shortage of steamrollers in the shop. But we have a torch. Oh, we did have a torch before I dropped it. Maybe I'm too old for climbing on steamrollers. Now, it's got a flange at the back, right? And it should have a flange at the front too, and it should be just an on-off stop cock, the same as all the others with a, sorry about the click, with a taper plug in it and a tap that matches. But it's a gate valve, so that's not helpful. What we probably could do is make a new flange for the front and bolt that on. So it really should be very similar to this one here, but not a tap, just a straight on and off with a handle. That's a more modern, sort of a more modern addition as well. So, looking at that, the problem with, I'll put this torch over here so we can actually see. The problem with this is that this is screwed into this fitting. So to get that out of that hole, you've got to undo the back one, and then unscrew the tap, and then the pipe's got to go out through that hole and down here through the handbrake lever. How do I know this? Because I've done it, or attempted it, and it didn't work particularly well. So, two things we could do, right? We could, make another flange for this. We can make a new tap for this. We could find a new tap. That's three things. TMB is probably right, but if we put this back to original, it should be good. The reason that I don't like this pipe is, it's probably the reason it's broken, is because there's too much strain on it. So what we need to do is either reconstruct this pipe and use these bends and weld a piece nicely on the back instead of ugly like it is, at the right angle and straight and all that sort of stuff, and put a flange on this end and bolt it up. Or we make a new pipe, make a new valve. Ideally, the best case scenario is to make a new valve, if we can find a drawing, and a new pipe, and bolt the injector all up, because it's all got to join up between that hole on the bunker, because it all screws together, and this valve on that flange. So Mark, that flange has got one of those Fowler washers in there rather than a gasket, so that's interesting. But this is just on the back head here is just a cast plate, and then it's got a pipe fitting in the back, and then it's got that pipe. Oh, this roller needs a clean again. 3 weeks after it's been done, or a month after it's been done. But there's a pipe goes around that hole into the flanges. Mark, if you can see that, the flange is down there. That's that little flange. And then there's a big flange there, which picks up the water gauge glasses. So there we go. This does look like it's got studs in it, so I may have been wrong about boiler designations, Mark. Anyway, it looks like it has got stays in it. I don't know. This needs a good clean up. It's got about an inch of oil on it. It's not causing anything to go rusty by its nature, but it does need a good clean up. And how to do that without taking the second shaft and the crankshaft out, I don't know. Interesting. So that's the dilemma with the injector pipe, right? That's where we're at. Mark, see this too. This is another thing that we've talked about. I've just dropped that. Sorry guys, that was dropping that. Put this here. See, we have this pipe up here with the water dipstick in it. Not good. This really needs the proper Fowler pipe over on that side in the corner, I think. That's what it needs to be any good. And it's probably what it will get with a ring on top. So that's where this is. This is remarkably clean at this point, but the oil still seeps down even though it's been pressure cleaned in the last few months. Anyway. That's the injector problem, and that's where what we're working on at the moment. That's what sort of what we're putting together. So that's why I've been procrastinating it, because I've known that all those things needed to be done. So it's a process. But something's got to be done. And if we make one tap for there, at some point we need to make another tap for here, which is our water lifter tap, which is the correct size and fitting. So that's not doing any problems there. We could just slip that out if we found one and put one in. But this one up here is a bit more of a task. But ideally they all should match. That's the theory, and the water drain valve off the tender that we looked at before, that should match too. And all sorts of other fittings. They don't. Oh, that's me getting off the roller. Turn the torch off. If I leave it there, I'll never find it again. No, I won't turn the torch off. We'll have a look at this. So this, Mark, is a very useful thing, and T&B too, if you've got an engine, this is also something you should be doing, right? See this? 2 plugs in the back. Hot water cylinder, zinc anodes into the tank. So this is a aftermarket job on this, in the back door here. Okay, this back door in the tender. But an absolute boon, because if we have a look in there, this tank's really in remarkably good condition. It's a bit dirty at the moment. If we shine this in there like that. It is a bit dirty at the moment, but it's in pretty Mickey Mouse condition really. So very happy with that, and I believe that's because of those anodes. While we've got this cover off, we should take the other cover off this weekend maybe and give it all a good hose out in there. It wouldn't hurt. Scrub. Anyway, they're projects that are going on and they're things that we need. Painted's good, but that anode will save you a lot of grief in the future. Just saying. These back pins, Mark, that I have, these are just a bit of pipe. They look good with a washer welded on top. Dan Shed, good day. And a bent bit of rod. So they look the part. They're not anywhere near as heavy, and I don't imagine we'd ever bend them. So anyway, so that's that look at that. Right. What else is happening? That's at this point the roller, and you'll see a little bit of progress on that over the coming weeks, but we need to get it sorted. A niche career, Bill. I don't think it's a particularly good sort of a job. Maybe that's why. Anyway, in the electrolysis bath this week, should have a new segment for this, is this. This is Dan's Hornsby engine. It's had a bit of a wire brush up. It's actually coming up really clean. It's got a bit of a ridge in here. And it's got a new cylinder, a new lino and a few other things. And some of these studs coming out. Can't find my stud remover. I was going to have a go at getting them out. It's here somewhere. It's cleaning up. Still wants a bit of a clean. It's had a bit of a scrape and there was a lot of dry, loose dirt and stuff coming off it. But that's cleaning up, and that's a job we're working on. Donation box. What sort of... Have we had any progress? No, we haven't. There we go. We've actually gone backwards. No, we haven't gone backwards. We just haven't. We've made some progress that wasn't really very good. I printed this, which I understand is not the answer because I left it in the sun for the paint to dry. And it all curled up. So, see, it's quite bad here. It was a very hot day. I'm going to have to do something more with this. I think I'm probably going to make it up from separate parts and plywood and do a decent job of it. But this is the boiler pattern for the boiler which goes here. I'll absolutely cast it, but I need to make a pattern that's sort of half not going to do that. Also got some Wilesco belts to drive things like this lathe. Those little spring belts, so got some of them. Know where to get them now because they were a bit hard to find in Australia. And the other thing that we've picked up for this is a cast aluminium replica record commemorative anvil. So that wants to clean up and bolting down and stuff, and that'll be very, very useful part of this. So that's another job. It is very cool. So slowly coming together. I was going to hope to have this cast this weekend. It didn't happen. I went without it. I've been to the foundry, come back without it. I had a fairly relaxing day, cast some stuff, talked to some people. It wasn't go, go, go like it usually is. Spent the night at Mark's and Leanne's, which is excellent hospitality and good place to stay. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And this didn't happen. But we will cast it in aluminium and paint it black and put it in the wall there, and then this will start to come together quite a lot more. But there's jobs to do anyway. So they're jobs that are happening here in the workshop. The Bay of Peacock engine is outside. It would look just as good 3D printed and painted, but if we have a hot day at a rally and things in there are 3D printed and painted, this be what happened. So a cast aluminium for longevity and for finish and stuff, I think, is the ideal. And it's not a big deal to cast it. So that's where I'm at. This is quite a bit bigger than what I originally started with. And I think that's excellent. I think it needs to be that big. It needs fire rolls that big. What I'm going to do probably is ask someone at work nicely to machine up a bit of plywood round, and I don't know yet. We'll see. But not happy with this. The trouble with the oval holes in it makes it a little bit difficult. Could probably cut 2 holes in here in the milling machine and then put a plate behind it or something. Don't know, I want that cast look and feel, and I want something that's going to last and we're not going to have to pull halfway through an event because the sun's been added or the rain's been added or whatever. We want something pretty durable. Anyway, so they're all things. That's the progress, I guess, on the donation box. Is Dan's truck still here? Let's go and look. We'll take the torch for a walk and see. I haven't noticed it either way, but I've walked past it a few times if it is there. Oh, here we go. It's dark out here. There's probably a... Is there a light? There is a light. Look at us go with the light. Now, Dan's truck's still here. I'm not sure what the thoughts behind this are, but anyway, we worry about people. And eventually they either run out of money or they end up committed. It's actually a pretty tidy truck, and it was a gift, and it's a score, and it's the first decent thing I've seen him buy for probably 5 years, to be honest. If we're going to go there, it's not a bad truck. It's a 1968 or 69, I don't know, TK Bedford. The cab by Bedford were cabbed by Holden in Australia, General Motors, and a lot of them had a General Motors engine, but this has got a Bedford diesel, 500 something cube, don't know, big engine, big tanks, decent GVM, 12 tonne, something like that. So it's not a bad little Bedford truck. Mark says, how much do you want for it? That's right. It was at the National Rally. it's been for sale for a while. I think he just waited to that happy spot where the guy needed the cash and Dan had some and they swapped them over. But it's not a bad little truck. Could be 466, righto. No idea. I haven't really looked. It's very clean. Don't know if the engine bay's locked. It's not. Engine bay's not locked. We could have a look in there. There we go. That even lifts up and stays up. How good's that? But very clean motor. Very clean cab. Holden grey motor colour. It's got Bedford written on the top. It probably has the engine capacity as well, but we haven't actually had a look in here to see. I'll put my head in here. No, it just says Bedford. It's probably a plate, but it's in pretty sweet condition, really. There is a number down there on the side of the block that says 500, but I don't know if that's what it is or not, or whether they just bought them different. There's something that obviously sat on this little shelf here. No idea what that was. But it's right next to the regulator, so it was probably a battery or something. Anyway. This is the problem with a connected microphone, is if you drop it outside in the dark, you've got to find it again. So, hope we've got some actual sound again. Can someone confirm? I could fire it up, but I don't know if I will. It's cool. We've had a look at it. We've got a lot of stuff to get through tonight, so I might not fire it up. But one day we ought to do a bit of a stream with featuring this, because it's a nice truck. It's a bit of a score, actually. I think he's done all right. Anyway, Bedford's still here. Cylinder's outside here, still here. It seems to have some dissipation of fluids in the top of it, which I think is a very good thing. Maybe they're actually going somewhere when you fill it up. Yeah, I saw that too, Mart. Anyway, Bruce has got a good channel. Anyway, so that's all happening. We need to make a trip to the bottle place on Sunday. I'll bag some of these up so that box is that's empty again, and we'll go in on Sunday and fix that. Now, other things that have happened in the workshop. A few things, to be honest. Yeah, there's a bit more happening. This happened today, right? I don't know if the smoke machine drives snakes out, to be honest. I'm not sure that's how that works. I think the only thing that drives snakes out is a bit of personal space. That's what they like. So there we go. We have a lathe. I don't know how absolutely useful it is. I think it needs some pulley calculations and rework, to be honest. Yeah, the bins are exactly the same. The lathe looks like it's been stored in a garden. That's very true. That's a very polite way of saying what actually happened to it. But yes, correct. Needs some love, Dan says. It was free. It's not a bad machine. Look, I'm going to put a disclaimer here. I've had a bit of a look at it, right? I haven't run a calibrated weigh machine or anything over it, but I've had a bit of a look at it. It's not terrible. It has, however, have some issues. One is that electric motor over there on the floor is supposed to couple up to that belt pulley. And I don't know what you do about that. Second issue is, because of the age and the size of this thing, top speed is 370 RPM. Which, if you work out your surface feet per minute on a carbide tool, I'm sure it's got plenty of power, but I think we might be struggling a bit. So we're going to have to do some maths on that and see where we need to be. And maybe for 2025, if we're putting that motor back on it, which is over there, we need to do some actual calculations and work out what is the best speed. If we can do like on say something 5 or 6 inches diameter, if we can do a feet per minute calculation and compare it to a carbide tool and tell us exactly where we are or what we need to be, we mightn't be that far out. I've worked a lot of big lathes with slow. Lone Star Sunfish, g'day. Yeah, look, I've worked a lot of big lathes in my life at various points, and this one is a bit slow. The slowest speed on this on the chart is 10 RPM, and it goes through the quick change gearbox, it goes through to 370. So, to my mind, we'll run it up and see how we go, but if we could get 500 out of it, they would be very happy with that. Because we're not going to be always machining 4 and 6 inch, 8 inch shafts with it. It's going to be doing a lot of smaller work as well, so a bit more speed mightn't hurt. And it's not actual speed, it's surface speed, or feet per minute, or whatever you want, meters per second, or whatever you want to call it. And we need to do some calculations and work out what it is. Now, as far as I can see, that gap piece there behind the chuck has never come out. It might have come out at some point, but it's back in pretty nice. So there is a gap here. Looks pretty good. It is flat bed. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of crazy wear on it. Now, it's a Denim. Denim had a bit of a name for making very nice little tool room lathes, actually. They made good stuff in the 50s and 60s. Like really nice lathes. As luck would have it, lathes.co.uk, when I look at their website about the big lathes, doesn't really cover anything this early, but it does have sort of a sketchy suggestion for serial number dates, which is pretty impressive. And that makes this about 1942, which is later than I expected. It nearly should, to be honest, I would say. Dan, we need to give that all a good clean up before we even think about taking that gap out and putting it back in. I'm a bit fussy about that and leveling it and all that sort of stuff before we even think about taking that out. But you got yourself a job. First rule is never to take the gap out. That's correct. I reckon this gap's been out a few times. And if we're careful and keep everything clean, we might, but I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been out. It looks clean. It looks like it's been gone back in the right spot, so it might be nicely located. But it might have been out a few times. It's done a few years. I don't know. It's working. It's worked hard in its life. For large diameter work, 370. If you're truing up a 3-foot flywheel, that's right. 370 RPM isn't that terrible. That's probably a lack of horsepower rather than actual recommended cutting speed, Mats, if we're going to go there. This has certainly got horsepower, or it should have, with that big motor on it. Everything seems to work. The gearbox all seems to be nice and quiet and sweet. I've been right through it, sort of, and had to look. There's a clutch lever. There's half nuts there. There's a drop out here somewhere, I think, on this wheel here, if you want to freewheel it, which is not a bad idea. This all works pretty well. I haven't really spent a lot of time sliding it backwards and forwards, but everything seems to work. It could do with a clean up, and some steel wool probably be a good place to start. Well, not steel wool, but a Scotch-Brite, some WD-40, and some degreaser, and some oil. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of play in any of the shafts. There doesn't seem to be a lot of play in any of the ways that I can see. It might be different with a cut on it, but everything seems reasonably good. I don't know how much work it's actually done. There's, if we look here, I've used a lathe that the maximum good cutting speed was 200, 250 RPM, but that was on 4 or 5 foot, pretty heavy interrupted cuts. And we knew about it. If we zoom in here, we notice battery terminal there, some nuts. It was like ½ inch Whitworth nut. We grab that real quick before someone else does because we need them. Coach bolt, very useful coach bolt. A lot of leaves, a lot of crap, a lot of dirt. So, and some other bolts and stuff in there. That needs a good scrape out and everything put in a bucket and washing up. That's what it wants. But everything seems to work. The plates are all sort of readable. The serial number's readable. I reckon it's probably mid-war. It's probably quite simple. But if we look at this, our high speed here, I'll zoom out again, guys. Don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can. High speed here, 370. 10, 14, 20, 28, 39, 52, 75, 102, 138, 199, 273 and 370. Now, that's with a pulley speed of 450 RPM, which I think is that pulley there. Now, it's about 12-inch pulley, and the pulley on the motor is about 3 inch. So it's 4 to 1. If this is a 1440 RPM motor, which I think it probably is, someone do the maths for me. 4 into 1200 is 300. 144 into 120 is 40 is 300 and 350, 360 RPM or something, which is a bit on the slow side. So that's going to need either a bigger motor and a bigger pulley, or a bigger pulley, or we're going to have to compromise with slow speed. We'll see. As white metal bearings, yes, quite like, you don't want to push it much faster than that. But if we could put a 5-inch pulley on that, so that it's 2 to 1, that gives us, I think that would probably work out to be a much more usable machine. Anyway, I imagine these probably are metal bearings. I don't know, they're pretty massive. There's 2 oilers missing here or something. I don't know what was on there. It's got 2 holes, one there and one there. Don't know what was on there. It's definitely got conical bearings because it's got a thread on this end here. Sorry, Bill. 360, I wasn't far out, thank you. So this has got, right, a screw down, 2 screw down nuts on the end here, which probably means it's got conical bearings on the shaft. If that is so, and we might have to have a bit of an investigation, but if that is so, then it's more than capable of doing 500 RPM. You could, I think that's too much. Now this pulley here is for driving the suds pump. The suds tank is down there, right, with a pipe there. The suds pump is off the machine. Gosh, there it is there, that's it. I'm not going to bend over, so we'll zoom in. But that's a sud pump that works on the side there. So that needs putting back together. It'd be a very useful addition on heavy work. And that guard goes between there and around the motor. There's room in the guard for a bigger pulley. I reckon if we took that 3-inch pulley off, because it's been converted at some point from flat belt drive, which is what it would have been originally, it's a big flat belt pulley, to V-belts. Are the lock nuts the right way around? How does it go? They're a compromise and not mechanically perfect, those ones. Probably is wartime and they use shorter studs. That's about where I'm at with that. But yeah, they're the second diagram rather than the first. You should bring those coffee cups out tomorrow or Saturday when you come. Fridge, if you're coming, it'd be very good of you. If you want to keep them because you think that's an important part of your lifestyle choices now, we can make some more. But yeah, they've got equal size nuts on them, which is probably not perfect, but it'll do. It's probably in a time of war. That was as good as they could do. So I think all in all, this is a very good machine. It's going to do some really good work. It's got a huge freaking spindle bore. I think it's about 90 mil, something like that, 110 or something. There you go, there's a spindle bore. So that's very useful. That's the third option. Yes, thanks, Matt, for making sure of that. So, I think this is a very capable machine. It needs the motor putting on it and pushing back against the wall. It needs a good clean up. It needs a scrape out in the suds pan. It needs a degrease, and it needs some clean oil. And it could do with probably some oil and a light Scotch-Brite on that bed. I mean, that's probably a bit aggressive, but it's probably not either, I think. And I think it would definitely be the thing. Denim were made in Halifax in Yorkshire. I think the Yorkshire built Lathe. And I don't know how it got here. Probably backload on a ship or something. On a wool ship or however that worked. But it does have a reversible gearbox spindle, which is very nice. Very useful for cutting big threads, I would say. If you wanted to cut a 12-inch diameter square thread at about 3 TPI, this would be a very useful thing. Let's have a look at the thread chart. That might be useful or interesting. We'll find, we've got a minute, we'll find a rag. There we go, I'm back. But what happens is that every now and again someone thinks that I should improve the audio on my live stream. And I have a lecture about it from someone. And I go and dig out the microphone. And it's such a nuisance. Anyway. I can't hear any of this. And I don't listen to it back. So I haven't got a clue what the audio is like. So you can put up with it. It's not my issue. That's a terrible thing to say. Sorry, guys. Let's have a look here. There's a thread chart here. First driver in the driven, second driver in the driven. Threads per inch. Leading screw 2 threads per inch. Change wheels required. Now it's got a much bigger range of change wheels than the ones on the list. But this covers 2 TPI to 20 TPI, that says. If we clean this off, and that's almost impossible, we're going to go over here again, sorry. Oh, someone's knocked this over and we've lost the lid off here. Not helpful. So that makes a third trip, a third stop. Right. Right. It didn't work either. That did. Now, first person to throw this can out keeps this, please, because it's a very useful thing. And we'll put it on the next can because they're a bit hard to find, these things. Some actual restoration work going on here, almost. Oh, that smells nice. You know, this is power feed. This chart's power feed chart. Now up to 190 cuts per inch and down to 12.8 in position A. Now 12.6 actually, 12.6 cuts per inch is about 2 millimetre. That's a fair lump of a cut on a big job. She's going to groan a bit at that. And 190 is 190 into 1,000 is 200 into 1,000 is what, 5.5, 6 thou per cut per revolution. That's not bad. And 12.6 is about double. It's double. So 200 thou, something like that, about 200 thou per cut. That's getting along. You know you were taking that off it. The refillable ones are okay. I don't know if you replace or priced a 4 litre tin of WD-40 lately in Australia, but it hurts. Thanks, Dan. Halifax is David's mum's hometown. Needs a quick change toolbox? Maybe. There we go. Like I said, the whole corded camera thing is useless. And at least if you drop your camera, you can find it again. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. So that's a rundown on the lathe. It's here. It looks heavy. It looks a lot heavier than 4 tonne. They were saying 4 tonne. I'm looking at that thinking it's a lot heavier than 4 tonne. So anyway, William's been back last week and dropped off the change wheel rack. So that's been restored or rebuilt or improved. As soon as we can ant proof it, the change wheels will go in that rack. Now, it should fit nicely back in there against the wall, but it needs a motor on it first, so there's no point doing that until. And if you really wanted to get into it with a wire brush, you could do with a coat of paint. And then it would be a fairly serviceable machine. But mostly it just needs a clean, and it might not be as bad as you think. Anyway, I think it's an asset to the club, I really do. But she's a pretty big machine. And it's capable of doing some pretty big work, but only with high-speed steel, which is all right if you know how to operate it. You can get some good finishes at high-speed steel. But I think it will come up pretty good. I don't think there's a lot of wear on the bed that I can see. We could actually check that a bit more thoroughly once we've cleaned the bed up and wound the saddle down. Probably put a standard in it even, or a parallel bar in it and check it. But I don't think it's too bad. I really don't. Good lathe. Just a bit slow at this point. All right, that's one job. What's next? Speaking of, we did a fundraiser at the club, which is awesome, here at Shannondale Steam Shed, and we've just got shirts done. They got Shannondale Steam Shed and the JJ Lane engine. The story We'll put it on the spreadsheet. We will get to that, promise. Mrs. Mark's Shed Talk has done these, done a really nice job of them. This is really nice work, actually. We all got shirts with that. There's a nice colour shirt. It is, I think after a wash it might be a little bit better, but they are pretty stiff cotton. But they're UV proof, so they've got to be, I guess. And they're long sleeve, but they seem to have plenty of room in them to roll them up. And they're about 2 sizes small. But we've accommodated for that. I hope everyone else's fits, because me and Paul did some actual measurements and got ours to fit, so we'll see how we go with that. So that's another thing that's arrived. Another job that we've got going. There's the Old Glory magazine here. Yeah, reach out to Mrs. Shed Talk if you want any of that sort of work done, because she's very good at it. There is an Old Glory magazine arrived via hand luggage from Glasgow train station, I think. This is the first one of these I've seen. I haven't really sat down and had much of a look at it. I'd like to, but I haven't had time. But very good article here on Fowler 16771. Dan and Christian at the controls there, and me and Christian there. I think there's William standing up in there. Picture of me crossing the Grafton Bridge. All us crew, Williams engines. A few pics around town, and we couldn't write an article without some sort of reference to this haveling in the rain. So that's arrived, and that's this roller behind me. So it's very cool. Now, I've got a giveaway. I know I'm hopeless with giveaways, but I really shouldn't keep this, because if I do, I've got nowhere really to put it, to be honest. So I thought, let's organise a giveaway. That's excellent, but I don't know where I put it. I put it up here on the shelf. Away. Let's have a talk about this. Mark's got a giveaway on his channel. If you go and watch his video before tomorrow night, I don't know what the cut-off day is, but you should go and watch that. It's pretty awesome. And it's much more cool than mine. But I have a calendar. Take care, mates. Good to see you. What month is that one? That one is November. So David, if you get a chance and see November Old Glory, you probably should. We haven't actually seen it here in Australia yet, unless you subscribe. But it's not in the newsstands yet. I have a calendar here. It's an Australian calendar. It's a bit nice. It's past February already, but February's got a decent roller. Bill Ives is March. That little auction is April. That big Aveling is May. Ian Fordyce's Aveling is June. Parander's, no, not Parander's. Someone's 8 horsepower Marshall is July. I'm sure Mark can fill you in on this. Big Barrel Road Locomotive from Victoria is August. Cobb Douglas Steam Museum's Fowler B6 crane engine is September. Jennifer, who's Little Marshall compound, is October. Marion, which is the roller that Mark and Mark look after. And there's the other Mark, is November. Matty Yap's B7 is December. It's a bit nice, I guess. And it's not too shop soiled or anything, but anyway, look, if you're watching this and we've got a giveaway, I will post this, right? It won't cost a lot to post it, and I will get it away this next week. How are we going to do this? What's the best way to do it? Another video might be there. I'm going to post a video this week, right? The same as Mark's done, and I'm going to get you to comment something. So if you watch that video and you comment, I will post this to you, whether it's Spain or Portugal or the UK or Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever, Main Street, Glenray. I will post this. So if you're looking at this, I'll post a video up this week. Give you a few days to comment on it, and we'll announce it next week. So there we go. It's a very nice calendar. It's done by the Queensland Historic Machinery Club, I think. I don't know who's done this, but it's not bad. So I'm going to give it away, post it off. I will do a bit of a quick video, same as Mark's done. I think that's probably a good way to do that. And we'll move it on. I'll get that up next couple of days before next Wednesday, and I'll draw it out of a hat, or I'll have all the names in a hat by Wednesday and we'll draw it out on live stream. How's that? That'll work. Good stuff. Righto. If Bill gets it, I'll go through right Tuesday on every day. Anyway, next thing. Gosh, it's been one of those sort of weeks. There's a lot happening here. We're well over an hour already. Next thing, I posted a video tonight. These videos aren't posted at peak times or with any thought or algorithm or anything else. They're posted when they actually get uploaded and I get through the editing properly and they get a thumbnail made. And that's about this Wright Ericsson engine. Which I'm working on. It's a bit of a job. I went and picked up these legs on Sunday. Spent a bit of time last night. Was it last night? It might have been last night. I don't know. Finishing the video off and actually bolting them on the base. Got this bolted on there. Spored, bolted. There's a piece to go on here next, I think. I don't know. There's a cylinder sleeve has arrived. It's a very, very good calendar, yeah. I have got one. Because I'm February, I got pressured into buying one. And there's calendars here everywhere already, so I'm going to give it a miss this week and give it away to someone who thinks they'd like it. Don't ever think about that, rules on that. I don't know what we're going to do. So, there's a few castings left, but the castings as a whole are starting to sort of look like they're going together. If we look at it, there's a few castings in this bag, and it looks like a big bag of castings, but it's not really. There's this one. which goes there with the ball bearing and the needle roller for the crankshaft, and the pivot here. The pivot has basically this casting, which is quite a good casting, goes on there with this, got a cutout in it to go around that cylinder that goes up and down. This one goes on top here, like so. It's got two bearings in it, and this has got a, basically this goes on here, and this works off the crank on this end, and this operates the water pump on this end, and it's got clearance for the displacer rod, which is worked off this piece that goes up and down, and then the piston, the power piston, works on this. So all very good. There's also this abomination. I shouldn't say that, it's quite a nice casting. I don't know if I'm going to use it. It shows in the drawings about 3 or 4 different ways to actually make a firebox of this, and I don't particularly like this one. It might work, but it's quite a heavy thing. I'm not as sold on it as I could be, so we might fold one up out of metal yet. There's patterns and things to do that. I'd like an opening door. And I believe it's got to suspend from here, so I'd like something with not quite as much weight in it. It's pretty heavy. So we might take this back to them. They can sell it to someone else. It's not a bad casting. But next video anyway, which will come out at some point after the weekend, I don't know, at some point after next week, we'll be getting this sorted with a hole in here and a hole in here and some flat mountings and some holes in here, and that bolted on. If we can get that on there, then we've got the crankshaft and the flywheel in, basically. So it's looking all right. That's work in progress. I've gone ahead and the bits that we've done bolt up and make an impressive model without a lot of effort. And even getting this bit on won't be a lot of effort to machine these and put the 2 holes in it in the right spot and bolt it up. There's more effort in jobs like, well, even that display, that cylinder's not a big job to put in there, but the power piston and the displacer and the pump and the cranks and things like that. So the minute we've got this on, I might concentrate on some of the fiddly bits like the cranks and maybe the pump, get them done. And if they're done, then probably, oops, I dropped the phone again. If they're done, then probably we can go ahead and fix all these cranks and things. So that's coming along. It's all right. Trying to get this bench cleaned off. I made inroads into it today and yesterday. Trying to get the bench cleaned off for the weekend because we've got a working day here. My goal is to have none of my stuff on the bench by Friday night. So we'll see how we go with that. That's the plan. Apart from that, there is a working day on Friday if anyone wants to come out. Very, very happy to have you. Glenray, New South Wales. Come out the steam shed, hit us up on Facebook or hit me up on here, get some directions, come and see us, and we'll have a look. We probably have a job, but we might have a job for you. But if you don't want a job, there's a box to sit on or a chair, and there's tea to be drunk. If you do come, bring a packet of biscuits, and there'll be people to entertain and all that sort of stuff. And there's other craft jobs and things if you want to do those. Ooh. But the main job is to finish this wall on that wall, get a start on that wall. And there's French doors coming for here as well. I've got to go and get them in the next couple of days. And extra plaster and stuff. So that's all that's happening in the shed. Stuart Mackey come today and didn't pick up his shirt, so I have to send him a message about that. This is easy. It's got a few things to put away, but that's not a big deal. We'll get that sorted. We should have both benches clean by Saturday without any issues. That's the plan. Anyway, I'll be making myself at home a bit, which is very convenient, but don't want to overstay my welcome too much. So we'll pack some stuff up, and it's time for a clean up anyway. Apart from that, we're looking for a water tank. That's the other thing. If anyone in the local area has a water tank to donate, I'd be very, very keen. If someone's watching this from Glenray or Coffs or Grafton or any space in between, and you've got anything bigger than about a 4,000 litre tank, something bigger than a 1,000 gallon tank, but I'm very, very, very happy to come and pick it up and remove it for you. If you want to donate it to the club, that's something that we're looking for at the moment. I haven't been online much this week either, but I didn't, and I will post. I'll probably post tonight. I did have every intentions. Hey, John. John got a sponsor from Mark about rust problems. More information on that as it comes. In modesty, all things in modesty, yeah. If you make your drink, your beer last all day, then you don't have to sober up. I hear that. You can just be permanently soaked. Very good plan. I don't know if it always works out like that, but very good plan. Though anyone who's met or knows Chris Hansen, who's a bit of a mover and shaker in Glenray, nice guy. I think Matt's has probably met him. I know the rest of us has. He's out of hospital tomorrow. He hasn't been real well, but he's back out of hospital tomorrow, and we'll probably see him Saturday morning for coffee. He mightn't be doing much, but we'll see him. Anyway, having said that, I think we've covered just about everything. There will be a giveaway video this week. I'm not going to promise an engine build video, but having said that, the parts that I'm working on at the moment are set up, and there is some video made already, so there's every chance that there might be, but don't hold me to that. There'll be some Instagram updates and things about our working day, I guess. And it should all be good. Everything will go nicely. So that's what's happening. Anyway, more soon. I think I'm gonna call this. I'm about had it. I better bring someone back who just phoned me, and I will be on Discord for a bit, probably in a minute. I've uploaded my video, so I don't have to go back to that. I might do some online shopping or something, or a bit of a look around. I've got some posts to make on Facebook and stuff. So I'll go and get some dinner in a minute, which is out defrosting, and jump on the laptop down in the kitchen and catch up with anyone who wants to catch up on Discord. But thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really appreciate everyone watching. We've got 9 likes on this video, which is great. You guys rock. And more soon.